like a dream come true. Kind of have a loss of words for this one, guys, but here I am, standing next to the new car, the replacement for the C7 Z06, my Audi R8 Gen 2 V10, 7-speed dual clutch, Suzuka Gray, Audi R8 with the carbon fiber package. And this moment is just so unbelievably surreal. You might notice that my energy levels are somewhat tame and both my hands are free because I have the camera up on a tripod right now. It's a vow that I made to never really stand in one specific location for more than is required to explain what I'm doing in my vlogs. This occasion I felt like was a pretty solid exception. I just can't even believe it, guys. This is one of those moments that I'll remember for the rest of my life. How do I even articulate what cars mean to me? I'm not really all that sure what vehicles mean to me in general. I think the brand that so many of you support and wear with pride as a representation of yourself and your passions every day is enough in and of itself to kind of explain, I guess, what I feel. But to elaborate on it, this car right here is more than just some metal strapped to some rubber that connects to the road. It's an accomplishment, it's a timeline stamp, it's a reference point in history for the rest of my life. And I'll be able to say that I bought my first supercar before the age of 30, which I honestly could have only ever dreamt of when I was graduating from college, when I was looking at other business owners, entrepreneurs, and car enthusiasts, wondering what it is that went through their mind that allowed them to take the steps necessary to end up in a car where the engine is in the back. And I actually haven't made this video for an extended period of time. I've had this car in my possession for over a month now. I've been keeping it a secret, not for any other reason than the fact that it was just something that was such a big deal to me that I really didn't actually even know how to talk about it. One of my core values in life is not to talk about what I'm doing, rather I like to do and let the result of that speak for itself. And I don't know, that's kind of just always how I've been, which doesn't make any sense at all because I have a YouTube channel, and the premise of YouTube is being you and sharing you online and talking about you or showing what it is that you do. It's just so beautiful that I almost don't even need to let words explain anything. Oh, all right, I gotta pull it together. So since I was a very young lad, there were two things that I always obsessed over. It was equipment, which a lot of you guys know I absolutely love, but it was also vehicles and dirt bikes in general, anything with a motor. I've always loved, literally since the beginning of time. I grew up in a household of automotive enthusiasts. My dad was a very diversified guy. He just loved vehicles in general and what they offered, almost as an expression of him. So he bought a classic truck back in the day, 1948 Chevy 3100, and he mostly, but I was there, helped to restore that. I was there every single step along the way, from the visit to the farm that we bought it from, trailering it home, to the first body shop that it went to assess all the work that it needed, to exploring every detail from the interior trims to the exterior components that we could salvage versus that we had to buy brand new, to the body shop progressions, to the 350 motor that was built and assembled for it, the supercharge that we decided to add on later, the wheels that my dad let me pick out of a catalog back in the day because it wasn't online. None of that stuff was the case. And all those experiences are just etched into my mind. And now I'm going into a little bit of a story time here, but all of that is symbolic to the journey that we feel as enthusiasts. And I have this car here behind me today, and now going forward, you guys are gonna see it on the channel, and it's more than just a vehicle that I wanna make videos and share with you guys with. It's a milestone accomplishment, just like getting my first diesel was back in the day. So a lot of you guys know me by now, and I really don't care about the stigma that comes along with owning a specific vehicle, like a 2021 AT4 DURTYMAX, for instance, right? There's a certain stigma that comes along with owning trucks like that, but I could truthfully give two craps about that because I think as a human being, we all have the opportunity to allow our characters to create the conversation in the room versus the material possessions. I think the material items are somewhat of just an extension of the personality of the person, and maybe that's a little bit of an outlandish perspective on how I look at vehicles, but I think that that's a really good summary of the people that make up the automotive enthusiast community and why I think that we're the greatest group of people in the entire world. Our passions are what speak so much about us. There's a lot of people in life that don't have that passion or just decide to ignore it and end up living what I would say are somewhat unfulfilling days, lives, weeks, whatever the case might be. We have to love what it is that defines us. So anyway, I have so much to say about this car and as to what it actually represents, but I'm gonna shut up. But this is my Audi R8. And that's so insane to say. My God, guys, you've been with me throughout this chapter of the last few videos and the last few months of where we were exploring different cars that would inevitably be filling the shoes that have left such an amazing mark on this channel, and just with the brand and everything like that, which was my C7 Corvette, which replaced my C6 Corvette. So we started to look into McLarens. We were considering the 570S, the 720S, and some of those in the McLaren portfolio, but truthfully, after driving them, although I appreciated what they were in McLaren Philadelphia for being so welcoming to all of us, a McLaren just didn't feel like me. I made that decision, and then the next day I made that video driving Sam's Lamborghini that's twin turboed by Dallas Performance. And it was at that moment in time that I had an epiphany, and I realized that V10s are beautiful things. As you guys listened to in the beginning of this video, they sound absolutely incredible. It's like a symphony of the angels. It's such a harmonic orchestra of sounds. And it was at that very instance when I was holding the wheel of the Lamborghini, I realized that a 5.2 liter V10 did something for me, although it was naturally aspirated, and I really didn't think that that was the case. It was nice to hear one with an exhaust, or with, well, I guess 2 mufflers, which were turbos. It definitely helped to create that visceral experience and memory, so Sam, thank you very much, but maybe no thank you, but thank you. No, seriously, I mean that, genuinely. So then I went back to the drawing board and I started researching not only Lamborghinis, but also Audi R8s. Because if you don't know, which I somewhat kind of recently found out, and I kind of just connected the dots because I wasn't paying attention before, is this car right here behind me is essentially a Lamborghini Huracan. It's just, it's in Audi badges and looks slightly different. It's essentially a Lamborghini chassis, a Lamborghini suspension. It's got the exact same motor as a Lamborghini Huracan, 5.2 liter V10. It's got the exact same transmission as a Lamborghini Huracan, and let's just say if it was to get twin turboed down the road, it would be a twin turbo kit that was designed for a Lamborghini Huracan or Audi R8. Now it's funny, I was talking to one of my business partners, and he loved the idea of R8s as I started exploring them. So he introduced me to this Facebook group, Exotic Cars for Sale. So I was kind of skimming along here and there, and later that night I was sitting right on my front porch right over here, and he had sent me a link to a very specific car that caught my attention and was essentially everything that I was looking for. It was essentially that car right there. It was in Michigan, and it wasn't white. It was Suzuka Gray, and it had everything that I was looking for, both from an interior and an exterior perspective. It's an easy to drive, easy to get in and out of car, and that's why I bought this car. I felt like I could drive it. I felt like the 5.2 liter was proven. Same with the transmission. It's a second generation car that really hasn't been changed all that much out of the 3 generations of R8 that exist today. They did do a facelift in 2020, but I thought it was a face drop. I don't think they look as good as this generation right here that was produced from 2017 to 2019. And what was cool was, it kind of felt somewhat like the Corvette, although really light gray on the exterior. It has a red interior, just like my Corvette, which was white with a red interior. And I love that so much. So literally, I reached out to the guy that night, negotiated a little bit on price, got into a range that I was happy with, and booked a one-way flight for Jake and I the next day. We flew up to Michigan, and then we enjoyed a drive home from Michigan, a few hundred miles, in an Audi R8. That whole experience feels so surreal to me still to this day. And along the way, I'd actually stopped to see Ryan Mayer. He's been holding footage now for the last few months. Ryan, I appreciate you holding on to that and keeping that a secret, as I was really waiting for the right opportunity to reveal this car. It's just everything that I could have ever imagined and more. So, and I'm gonna walk you guys around this thing a little bit to show you what's all done to it. Oh, guys, we've got an interruption on the vlog. We gotta go let this person through. I'll open this up for you. You can pull right in. Boys and girls, just like that, the Renegade 1000 is leaving the homestead, is headed out to its final home in Yuma, Arizona. I've never been to Arizona before. I heard it's a beautiful state. Hot, but no humidity. I'd take it. And that sand Renegade 1000 is gonna look perfect in the dunes. Juan, you're gonna have to send us a bunch of pictures so I can share them on the channel. There she goes, boys. Gonna miss that thing so much. Definitely gonna have to add something else to the property very soon, but maybe something that can move more than just one person. All right, back to the R8. So we've got these Caprici canards here on the side. They are mounted extremely well, and they give the fascia of this car such an aggressive appearance. So here you guys can see a picture of a factory Audi versus mine. You can see the difference that that front arrow makes. And what's nice is it's so clean, it's so factory, it's so minimal. No Audi badge. It was also debadged, and the Quattro badge was removed, which I like a lot because I feel like it kind of looks chintzy and a little bit out of place. The color is Suzuka Gray. Hard to see in the sunlight because it's very bright today, but it's got a really, really nice subtle metallic flake all throughout. It's a beautiful color. PPF is a really nice expel film. It's on everything on the front end, including the trim pieces and even the headlights, which I love. So it really protects that paint. Coming around to the side, it's got an amazing factory style appearance and stance, but that isn't factory. There's actually some very small wheel spacers. I'd say they're maybe 20 millimeters that are up front and in the rear, and it takes these factory 20s and steps them out to almost the perfect stance, questionably the perfect stance. And the car is not lowered, it is actually factory height, which is nice because unlike the Huracan, the R8s do not have front lift, which is fine though because we have plenty of ground clearance. I would never take this thing any lower. It's plenty low as is. Looks amazing, but also very functional, so I can drive it without worry. Now the car is fully tinted, which I felt like was somewhat meant to be. Already with windshield tint, 35% up front. And then we've got a darker 20% on the sides, which is subtle. It's not quite my 5% that I like to run, but it definitely does the job. This car does have a carbon fiber package, so it's got the carbon fiber air duct up top. On the side, which is an iconic staple to the R8, and all in the engine bay, there's a huge carbon fiber bezel that goes all the way around. Down on the side, that is not a factory canard, although it looks like it would be. It's very simple, minimal. That's also by Caprici. These are really, really nice complementing accents that almost build out the factory lines very, very nicely. Coming around to the back end of the car, everything is factory other than it's got a Caprici Valvetronic exhaust, which you guys heard makes fantastic sounds. And of course, the oh-so iconic HUSL license plate, which I still can't believe is available in Pennsylvania. The side markers are tinted ever so slightly. Looking into LED replacement options for those though, because just like on the C7, they only shine out of like 1/8 of the area and it looks kind of chintzy in my opinion. Coming on to the inside, we're greeted to a red and black interior. It's incredible. I absolutely love it. The material composition in this car is sporty but comfortable and luxury. We drove it back from Michigan and there was no complaints on comfort or ride quality the entire time. And then of course, we've got our what they call digital cockpit. There is nothing here in the middle. Everything is right in the gauge cluster. Now I'm gonna close that because it's super hot inside, but boys and girls, we have an Audi R8 and it is still so surreal to me, although it's been in my possession in my garage now for over 4 weeks. It still truly doesn't feel real. Plans for the car would be, I don't know right now. Actually, it's kind of weird. I've never actually had any vehicle in my entire life, over the 30 vehicles that I've bought and owned, that I haven't wanted to do anything to. It's bizarre, but it kind of feels like satisfying in a way, because I found a car that felt like it was meant to be in every single way, shape, and form. Factory Spiderweb 20s look amazing on this thing. Granted, they could be black. I know maybe it could use a set of black wheels, and that's a consideration for down the road, maybe with a stickier tire. I can't really do anything to the exhaust because it's a 10 liter, which I love. Granted, this car isn't as fast as the Corvette, but it's just a different experience. It's like comparing apples to asphalt. There's just no comparison. There's no similarities. There's nothing that you can really tie out between the two because they're different. It doesn't have, oh shit, shock, fast, or speed, whereas a Corvette, you punched it and you mashed your head against the top of the headrest, but it's just buttery smooth. Let's just say north of the speed limit in this car feels way south of the speed limit, whereas north of the speed limit by 5 miles an hour, of course, we're talking about in retrospect perspective, in the Corvette felt like only a few miles an hour below the speed limit. It's a very different experience with the motor behind you and having that dual clutch transmission, which creates that instant finger to paddle to transmission feel, whereas in the Corvette it was slightly delayed. I respect both platforms tremendously. It's just this experience is completely different. So finally, the secret is out. It was pretty fun being the mystery vehicle of the town, and I kind of wanted to keep it a secret, but I felt terrible holding out on you guys. I could only do that for so long. So we're like my family. So that being said, boys, we've got a lot of things that are in the works and up and coming. I've been talking about buying an air brakes project, but that can't happen sequentially before this building is done. We're waiting on the truss completion, which should hopefully be mid-August. Once we have trusses completed, manufactured, and delivered, we can assemble the structure. So hopefully by the end of the month, we have a building here. Hopefully by September, the garage doors arrive. We can get the questionable radiant floor installed. I don't know if I'm gonna do that yet, but I'm leaning towards yes. we can get the pad laid, the stone down, and we can actually start creating an environment that we can use here on the channel. And I'm super pumped about that. There's just so many things in the works. It's just everything kind of has to happen in sequence. So that being said, boys, 10 times entries, and tonight for Dream Diesel giveaway number 19, the OG 2.0, the perfect balance of form and function, and 30 grand could have your name on it, but you have to get entered. So explore how to do so at enthusiast.com. Tap that subscribe button and like button on the way out. And boys, I can't wait to see y'all in the next upload.